Good evening, and welcome to True Stories of PHILIP PHIEGE DIMARIA. I'm your host, Fiji Finkelstein, and tonight we're going to tell a little story about a day and a night of PHILIP PHIEGE DIMARIA. This story takes place back in 1998, and we're going to name this one called Sky Trek. Chapter 1, The Bahamas. We start off with a beautiful story in the Bahamas. Phige and his childhood friend Jimbo were on their first vacation and met a bunch of their old friends down there, Peeps, JB, Dano, and a bunch of the other wild and crazy cats they hung out with. They had a fabuloso time hanging by the pool, drinking, checking out booty, and playing pool volleyball, even dancing on stage with the staff and the locals. Anyway, the other group of friends left, and Jimbo and Phige still had another day left on the island, not knowing what was going to unfold the next night. With a beautiful blue sky day in the Bahamas, Jimbo and Phige packed their bags and head to the airport and say goodbye to the beautiful sands and waters of the island. Once at the airport, Jimbo and Phige had to search and find a small private airline called Sky Trek. Now, Sky Trek was a very small airline with small planes. The plane kind of resembled the Cleveland Indians planes with the propellers from the movie Major League, but there was no Joe Boo for his flight. Departure time was about 8 p.m. and was on time, so it looked like a routine flight back to New Jersey. But on the contrary, it was just the opposite. For about 20 minutes into the flight, just reaching their highest altitude, things started not to go as expected. First off, Jimbo and Phige sat next to each other, but they had the aisle between them. They started feeling what they thought was turbulence, but oh no, it was much worse. The pilot gets on the intercom, tells the stewardesses to sit down and buckle up, and for all the passengers not to panic and get into crash positions. Now folks, if it was me that was there, and someone told me to get into crash positions, you know there might have been a little panicking going on. Thank God it wasn't me. So, as the mask fell down from the ceiling, Phige took a look at the window and witnessed there was some fluids flowing from the wings. He told Jimbo to check out on his wing. Jimbo saw the same thing. The plane drops about 100 feet. After dropping the plane, people start crying and yelling, "We're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die." Drops another 50 to 100 feet. More crying and more screaming. More screaming and more crying. The pilot comes on the intercom again and says that we were emergency landing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to stay in crash positions. It's at this time, while still in crash positions, Phige looked over at his buddy Jimbo and says, "You believe this shit, kid?" With the only reply Jimbo could do is look at Phige and say, "Yeah, Sky Trek, kid, Sky Trek." So as the plane kept leaking fluid and dropping and dropping and leaking and leaking and dropping, it wasn't look good for our good old friends Jimbo and Phige. But the pilot pulled that little Sky Trek plane together and landed the plane at Fort Lauderdale runway with a lot of blinking lights from fire trucks, police, and ambulances. The passengers of the plane erupted with applause, being glad to be safely on the ground. After being towed off the runway as they were leaving the plane, the pilot was standing by the door. Phige, while passing him, and said, "Great flying. Sky Trek. Thank you." The end. Now that was a true Phige story for all you out there. I'm going to probably read a couple more of these true stories in the next couple days since we're all quarantined. Again, thank you very much. I'm Fiji Finkelstein, and this was a true life day at PHILIP PHIEGE DIMARIA.